You're listening to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. This is episode 20, and today's topic is conspiracy theories and what makes a conspiracy theory. Hey everyone, Adam Musalli here. Welcome to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This podcast is released every Friday, and show notes are found at the website themindtechinstitute.com. It's all one word. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All links are in the show notes and website. And now, let's get started. In this episode, we're not going to discuss conspiracy theory events nor count how many there are. This episode is about knowing what a conspiracy theory and learn how to differentiate between a conspiracy theory, rumors, and conspiracy facts. So, if you're expecting to hear that we didn't go to the moon or 9/11 was an inside job, well, you're not going to hear that in this episode. Not because it's not true, or is it? Nevertheless, let's start from the beginning. The term conspiracy theories is a divisive term or label. You see, many people use the term or phrase conspiracy theory as a dismissive term, like a negative or judgmental term. For example, if one person is trying to discredit the view of another, especially in the news or mainstream media, they often refer to the opponent as a conspiracy theorist in hopes of undermining the points that they are making. And here's the crazy thing. This absolutely works. Because instead of evaluating the objective strength or weakness of an argument, people will just hear the phrase conspiracy theory and automatically associate it with some wild, fanciful story. For example, if I talk about the harms of fluoride in the water, chemtrails, news propagandas, or the government essentially is spying on you every day without your permission, such as what Edward Snowden and Julian Assange did and turned out to be true. You'll be treated as if you said the moon doesn't exist, or it's made out of cheese, or Earth is flat and it's taped on the top of some giant cosmic turtle swimming through the darkness of space. That's how you are treated once you are labeled as a conspiracy theorist, because of just that term. You see, I personally always dig deeper into a topic that is being ridiculed or brushed out by the mainstream media. Now, here's why several true conspiracies get falsely equated with unproven, often some widely imaginative stories. Conspiracy theory is a buzzword, or, according to some experts, a thought-terminating cliché. This means that people who might normally have critical thinking skills will shut down, losing their ability to notice logical fallacies or to register cognitive dissonance. And that's why we covered cognitive dissonance last week, and that was episode 18. But, and let's be fair here, why so many millions of people do passionately believe in conspiracy theories? Wouldn't it be just much easier to just ignore the shady irregularities and accept what the media is telling us? Or maybe it isn't. In fact, it's quite the opposite, because it's far easier and more enticing to believe in stories than the truth. The truth requires extensive and dedicated research, whereas all it takes for us to believe in conspiracies is just few photos taken in the wrong light, or some Chinese whispers from a guy who works at the mall who knows a woman who once dated a man who worked as a janitor at some CIA building. It's just easier, not to mention it's far more interesting. But what's the psychology behind this? Why do people so readily rebel against authorities and are so eager to believe in a conspiracy? Well, Maslow's hierarchy of needs was created by a psychologist called Abraham Maslow. It depicts the 5 goals that every human must satisfy to achieve happiness and life satisfaction. It starts with the most fundamental needs, and each level of the pyramid, and that's not an Illuminati pyramid, by the way, that's the Abraham Maslow pyramid, must be satisfied before you can pursue to the next level. You see, psychological needs are the most important, such as breathing, food, water, sex, and sleep. And the next is safety. It says a lot that the most important of our basic needs after sleep, food, and drink is safety. We must feel like we're not in danger, and our brain know it. Whenever a disaster or a misfortune happens, our first thought is of our own safety and then the safety of our loved ones. And after the event passes, our brains scramble to try to find a reason, a cause, and who or what was behind the event. We are unable to relax until we know the exact people and chain of events that led up to the disaster, and that's because our brains seek comfort and security. When our brain experiences fear, our amygdala is activated, which in turn it activates the part of our brain that processes information. This is our brain responding to the fear by attempting to figure out why the bad thing happened. It unnerves our primitive psychological needs to think that the world is essentially chaotic and random, and at any moment something terrible could happen that affects us. Could be an outbreak of war, a terrorist attacks, or a leader is being assassinated. The idea that there is no order or structure behind all of this and it's just the random events is a truly terrifying thought to most people. Many people would rather believe that an evil, shady cabal is running the scene and orchestrating everything like a huge theater play, even if they are some demonic biblical entities. It doesn't matter because it makes us feel secure and safer. There is certainly a false security in the knowledge that if something terrible happens, at least someone or something is behind it, and it's not just caused by random number generation or a rogue group of fanatics who cannot be controlled. And that's why we believe in conspiracy theories, because it gives us a reason, an outlet to blame things upon. It fulfills our basic need for safety in a really messed up way. Now, I was just being fair in explaining the psychology behind the belief of conspiracy, and at some point, most of us have believed in a conspiracy theory regardless of its level or degree. And there is nothing wrong with that, because some of them have turned out to be correct. We're certainly not always crazy. I mean, remember Watergate and MK Ultra, which was a CIA mind control project? Even Bill Clinton in 1995, he apologized for those victims of MK Ultra. People sounded crazy believing these things happened. And then the truth was revealed. The people were right all along. I mean, I believe in lots of things are labeled as conspiracies, and that's good because I use my critical thinking. And I don't just believe what the media or the government or any kind of authorities they just say. I have to do my homework. But here I am explaining the psychology behind believing in conspiracy, especially the other end of the scale that goes beyond rational thinking. And of course, we all know of or have encountered at least one hardcore conspiracy nut who believes or speaks of some really irrational things that cannot be proven or has zero evidence to start with. And that person makes all the others look like him or look crazy or ridiculous like him or her. And by the way, sometimes that conspiracy nut is not a conspiracy nut at all. He or she can be a shill, and we'll get to that later if we still have time. So going back to a genuine, irrational conspiracy nut, or actually in overthinking or seeing everything as a conspiracy. The dangerous thing about that is that slowly shuts down your pragmatic thinking. And information or evidence which contradicts a conspiracy theory can simply be explained as part of the conspiracy. For example, in an interview between Joe Rogan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is a famous astrophysicist, Dr. Tyson said that once he was speaking at an event and someone wanted to debate him that we didn't really go or land on the moon. And after Dr. Tyson gave him the evidence which the other person asked for to be convinced, I think it was some images. The other person said to Dr. Tyson, "Oh, so you think they left mirrors on the moon? That's what they want us to believe, dude." That's an example of overthinking or overdoing the conspiracy, especially if the person is closed-minded in the first place. And that behavior will lead to shutting down the person's pragmatic thinking, and any information or evidence which contradicts a conspiracy theory that he or she extremely believes in can simply be explained to that person as part of the conspiracy. And that is called the backfire effect, which is the process that when people are given evidence against their strongly held beliefs, they instantly reject the evidence and believe in that thing more strongly. By the way, religious people are experts at this, but we won't go into that now, maybe some other episode. So, the more people argue with close-minded or fanatic conspiracy theories, the more strongly those conspiracy theorists believe their conspiracy. It's just a vicious cycle. However, and once again, many conspiracies from history have turned out to be completely true. And who knows what document will be leaked tomorrow or the next day, proving a conspiracy to be true that sounded widely unbelievable. Now, going back to the valid, rational, and genuine conspiracies. You see, it's been said that all truth passes through 3 stages. The first stage is denial. The second stage is violent opposition. And the third stage is widespread acceptance or common knowledge. For example, you're listening to this podcast, keep in mind that people listening will be probably fall into one of those three categories. One group of people will absolutely deny what they are listening to and hearing could possibly be true. The second group of people will be violently opposed to this kind of information, and they will do everything they can to discredit the messenger rather than pay attention to the message. And yet there will be probably the third group of people that will sit back and say, I am not surprised and I knew it all along. With this in mind, let's play a little psychology game called word association. I will say a word and you think of the first word or the first thing comes to your mind. And the first word that I'm going to say to you is Paris. You see, the first image came to your mind was the Eiffel Tower, right? Okay. Again, Egypt. Pyramids, right? Okay. Again, Australia, kangaroos, or the Opera House. Now, terrorism. Islam? You see how you've been conditioned, or better say brainwashed? Well, we'll leave that for another whole episode, and just a little note here. I'm just running a little experiment of what's already been shoved in your head. I am not saying Islam is terrorism or such rubbish. And please, if you're one of those people that have that trash in their head, don't put it in the comment section, because this podcast isn't for idiots. This is a civilized, educational platform and nothing else. Now, going back to our little word association game, I'm going to give you another word. And the word is conspiracy. You thought of theory. And, of course, that's what most people think of. When you say conspiracy, the second word they think of is theory. You see, we've been all conditioned to associate the word theory with the word conspiracy, because after all, no conspiracies could possibly be true. They are all just theories, aren't they? Well, in the phrase conspiracy theory, there are two words. The first word is conspiracy, and the second word is the active word theory. By definition, a theory is a supposition, an idea, a concept, a hypothesis. Here's an example. In theory, if I purchase a raffle ticket, I could win a prize. Now, as long as I don't purchase a raffle ticket, my win is theoretical. But once you purchase a raffle ticket, the win is no longer a theory. It becomes a possibility. And the more raffle tickets you purchase, the more possibility and eventually probability the win becomes. You see, from theoretical to possible to probable. Such is the case with conspiracy theory. As long as there is no evidence, it's a conspiracy theory. But once you have a piece of evidence, no matter how flimsy or circumstantial it may be, it becomes a possibility. And the more evidence that is gathered, the more possible and eventually probable the conspiracy is. And of course, now we're not talking about the extreme conspiracy theories which have no evidence at all, not even a flimsy one, especially those if they see a mole on your face and it has some sharp head would say you're born from an Illuminati bloodline. And also keep in mind that there are lots of shills out there. And a shill, as I said before, shill is S-H-I-L-L. I-double-L, shill. Shill means someone is working for the same system or pretending to be an activist, for example, if that's the case, but his or her main job is to spread disinformation or just to do things to make the other activists look bad in any way. For example, and this is just an example, if there is a civil and peaceful protest somewhere against a certain party, the party will hire certain people to make trouble amongst the crowd, so the police will eventually respond and everyone will go home, or maybe hospitals. Another example, let's say the conspiracy of the New World Order, or the Illuminati, if such thing exists. They will hire some people pretending to be with those who believe in that certain conspiracy, for reasons, for example, to spread some crazy irrational claims or go on the mainstream media or social media talking about some irrational, really silly things to make all the others who believe in this conspiracy to look like fools. That's what a shill does, and also can be called a troll. That also happens in the media. The media will just create a problem, regardless where the order comes from. They hire crisis actors, and they will make you totally believe that there is an event really happening somewhere, and of course, it's for an agenda. We'll do a whole episode about such people, probably when we start talking about propagandas. But you can look up crisis actors and you'll be shocked. There are private companies provide those actors, by the way. Just in case if you would like to stage an event somewhere, you can look them up. But on a serious note, conspiracy is a healthy way of thinking if it's rational and backed up with evidence. And that's what makes critical thinkers unique thinkers. And it is true that curiosity may have killed the cat, but all the other cats certainly paid attention. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can email me. The email is on our website, themindtechinstitute.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are listening to this episode on YouTube. The Dynamic Thinking Project podcast is released every Friday, but there wouldn't be any episode released next Friday. Don't be alarmed, I'm not kidnapped and I'm not abducted. It's just that we take one Friday off every 10th Friday. Until next time, take care and enjoy your weekend. This is Adam Muselli, signing out.